Hi, my name's Vince Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about Hamlet by William Shakespeare, and I'd like to go through the structure of this great play as well as some of the themes that crop up within it. Now, I guess if you could sum up this play, surely one of the pillars of Western art, it would be something along the lines of the tortuous and destructive path of vengeance. Hamlet is this prince who is called back home after his father is murdered by his uncle, and to rub salt into the wounds, his uncle also marries the king's wife, Hamlet's mother. So Hamlet is appalled at this, and he decides to put on an antique disposition, which means he's feigning madness, perhaps to catch the new king, his uncle Claudius, off guard, and to enact his revenge. Hamlet is spurred on to revenge by the ghost of his dead father. In Act 2, Hamlet's madness is becoming common knowledge amongst the court, and is a subject of much concern with Claudius, his wife, Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, and Polonius, this courtier. And the king makes plans to hire Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, two of Hamlet's school friends, to keep an eye on him. Hamlet is in love with with Polonius's daughter, and her name is Ophelia, and he acts very oddly towards her by Act 3. In a rather nasty way actually as well, and you could perhaps argue that perhaps Hamlet is rather mad after all. It's not just an act. He's been spied on by Claudius and Polonius, and some players, some actors turn up at court, and Hamlet asks them to perform in front of the king and queen. He wants them to perform a play called The Murder of Gonzago, in which a king is murdered by his brother, and he wants to see Claudius's reaction. Claudius does indeed incriminate himself during the performance, and Hamlet now knows for sure what he needs to do. He needs to go and kill Claudius, and he has the opportunity. Claudius looks like he's praying, but Hamlet procrastinates. He doesn't want to send his soul to heaven as Claudius appears to be repenting for his past crimes. Hamlet then confronts his mother, and Polonius, who is spying behind the curtain, is murdered by Hamlet. In Act 4, Claudius feels ever more threatened by Hamlet's behaviour, and he arranges for Hamlet to be sent to England with his friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and Hamlet plays along with this, but he has no intention of going to England. He manages to come back and sends his friends to their execution, and in the meantime Ophelia and her brother Laertes are responding in different ways to their father's death. Remember, their father is Polonius, this rather verbose courtier who's been murdered by Hamlet. Ophelia is driven to the depths of despair and depression, and Laertes is in a rage. He wants his vengeance on Hamlet. Claudius then, at the end of this act, receives news that Ophelia has killed herself, drowned herself in a river. In Act 5, Hamlet stumbles across Ophelia's funeral, and Laertes confronts him and challenges him to a duel. And the king sees this as the perfect opportunity to rid himself of Hamlet by planning some skullduggery with poisoned rapiers and poisoned wine. But it all goes wrong. Gertrude drinks the poisoned wine. She dies. Laertes is wounded, he dies by the poisoned sword. Claudius dies, Hamlet finally gets his revenge, but then Hamlet dies himself. And Fortinbras, who is the king of Norway, who is in very many ways the opposite of Hamlet, although we don't see him that much in the play, he comes and takes the Danish throne. But Hamlet is held aloft as a tragic hero. So Hamlet, I mean, what's to say about Hamlet? Far more than just a short video. Well, I guess some of the themes of this play include the idea of insanity. What is real madness in this play? What is an act? Ophelia certainly appears really mad after her father is murdered. But with Hamlet, we're never completely sure. Yes, he puts on an antique disposition. He says that himself, to appear mad, to disarm Claudius and enact his revenge. But in other places, Hamlet talks as if it's more than an act, particularly when he rages about his mother, and it's an obsession Hamlet seems to have with her, what he describes as incest with his uncle. There's probably something of an Oedipus complex there as well. And then we have the way he talks to Ophelia, this savage, destructive way. So we're never sure really about Hamlet's madness. You could say the key to understanding Hamlet is through soliloquies, which of course are marvellous, highly renowned of course. And the soliloquies, I guess, reveal something of Hamlet's agony in what he feels he has to do, yet the shortcomings he has in achieving his ends. And it's in his soliloquies that he often appears to want to commit suicide to escape this troubled life, this mortal coil. But of course even that worries him. What is after death? It could be something worse. So Hamlet is in this terrible state of heightened psychological, spiritual, mental torture throughout this play. So you could say this agony Hamlet experiences, in his soul, perhaps contributes to this unhinging of his mind. And of course there's much about Hamlet's procrastination. He knows what he has to do, yet he delays, he puts it off. Epitomised of course in the scene in Act 3 where he has the opportunity to kill Claudius while Claudius is at prayer and he doesn't. And there's a telling scene where he encounters Fortinbras, this young king who, like Hamlet's, his father's been killed, but he just goes out and acts in an impulsive way, going into Poland and thinking nothing of 20,000 soldiers being killed. And Hamlet kind of envies his will and his singleness of purpose. And there's a real contrast between Hamlet and Fortinbras there. Now of course there's so much more in this play. There's quite a lot about purgatory and the afterlife in this play as well, and many people have remarked that Shakespeare was probably more traditional in his religion, i.e. more Catholic than Protestant, even though Anglicanism was the established religion of his day. But there's much about the afterlife, of course of grief, of murder, of the effect of immorality within the people, within people's hearts, and how then that is inevitably expressed through larger affairs of state. I think there's quite a lot of Denmark being corrupt as an expression writ large of the moral degeneracy of people's hearts. So, you know, there's much about depression as well, real or true friendship. You know, I guess when you compare Horatio and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, there's so much in this play, so much to uncover, and it would take many videos such as this to give it justice. Thank you for watching, and please check out the brief slideshow of the structure of the plot as well as the main themes that crop up. Thank you, bye.